Hi everybody, Harry Platcow here for another Artist Corner. We're going to have as a guest today Lisa Shea from Oxford?
Sutton.
Sutton, that's a neighboring town
Yep.
though, isn't it? From Sutton, Massachusetts, and you're the chairman of the Blackstone Valley Art Association?
The president.
The president?
Yep.
Okay, all right. And she has brought down some pieces today that are going to absolutely blow you away. It's going to be an introduction to a new form of photography that I've never heard. So, Lisa, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Tell us about that photo right there. You're weighing something. What is it?
Yep, the process is known as a cyanotype, and this was one of the original forms of photography way back in the 1800s.
Okay.
And at the time, they were mixing together different kinds of chemicals to try to come up with something that reacted to light.
Oh.
And what they discovered, and I wrote it down to make sure I got the percentages correct, is that if you mix together equal parts of 8.1% potassium ferrocyanide and 20% ferric ammonium citrate, that the result would be light reactive. So this first picture here is the potassium ferrocyanide, and then if we go on to the second picture.
Next one, please.
All right, so then that there is the ferric ammonium citrate. So those two different chemicals get mixed together, and you mix them in with water, and it creates, let's say, a paint of sorts.
A paint.
And then you could paint that onto paper or fabric or canvas or any other kind of surface.
Yeah.
And when you put it out in the sun will shine on it and react with it.
Forgot.
So if we go on to the next picture. All right, so this is a piece of paper, a large piece of paper that I painted with it.
Yeah.
And then I laid down, those are amplifier tubes from a bass amp and guitar strings and guitar picks.
Wow.
So when the sun shines on the surface, the things that cast a shadow keep the paper from turning color. So there's still the paper color.
Right.
And anything that the sun is able to touch ends up turning a deep blue color.
Wow.
So this is one of the first ways they were able to create images.
The chemicals that you speak, were they ancient form of D76 and microdol X?
Oh, I think that they're all related to each other because they're all in this late reactive family.
Right.
And some of them create, blacker colors, and some of them like this create bluer colors, and you can also get other kinds of tints in there.
Cool.
But in the early days, when they were doing architectural drawings, and they needed a copy for someone else that was helping out, someone would have to try to hand trace the copy and make it exact, and as you know, that would rarely be exact if they were trying to do it by hand. But what they discovered with this is that if they did a drawing on thin paper with very dark ink, and then laid it down on top of the light reactive paper, it would create an exact duplicate of the original. So this is where blueprints came from.
Yes.
This was the first way that they had to make an exact duplicate of the original drawing.
They don't do that like that anymore.
No. But they did this up until the the early 1900s. So it lasted for quite a while, and that's why many blueprints are still blue in color out of homage to their origins.
Wow, that's fascinating. Tell me the school of photography again. What's it called?
Oh, it's called a cyanotype. So C-Y-A-N, like cyan, the color.
Yeah.
And then O-type.
Cyanotype.
Yeah. So if we go one more forward. So this is an abstract one. This is a tavern puzzle. They're the metal shapes that lock together, and then you sit there and try to untangle them.
Yeah.
So this is a tavern puzzle that's laid out on a painted piece of paper, and it becomes abstract because some pieces are further away from the paper and the light can get under them, and some pieces are close. So you can do all sorts of cool designs.
So you've learned to finesse.
Yes.
Incredible.
The original.
I was looking at this last night. I thought it may have been a man holding a pipe or some kind, a hookah.
That's the fun of abstract, is that you never know what people will see.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I do a lot of leaf prints, or I think there's a bicycle print. If we go to the next one. Yeah, so I do a whole lot of bicycle gears because I love biking.
Oh.
So those are the pieces of a bicycle gear set. And when I painted the paper, I didn't go all the way to the edge, so I left one of the edges rough.
Yeah.
So you can do all sorts of different things with only painting part of the paper and only exposing part of the paper, and these are the bicycle gears laid out.
What kind of paper do you use?
lot of times I use watercolor paper, just
Yeah.
because the liquid soaks into it well.
Do you soak the paper first? Do you brush the paper first?
I'll brush it with a brush, because then I can get these cool edge kinds of effects on it.
Right.
And I don't know if this will show, but I'll try. It might be a little shiny. But it's the same sort of thing with bicycle gears, where I left the edges rough, and that
Right.
creates a neat effect.
Cool.
But this is fun for all ages, because kids can easily do something simple.
Sure.
A lot of kids do it with ferns, so they'll paint something and then they'll lay a fern down, and now they've got a pretty fern
Right.
image.
Right. Going back to kids,
Mm-hmm.
how old were you when you started to enjoy the muse?
Well, I think I've always enjoyed artwork. I always was running around with a little film camera when I was young.
Is that right?
Yep.
No finger painting, right to the camera.
No, I think I like the camera better than painting at the time.
Cool.
And even now, most of what I do is photography types of stuff.
Right.
But I think there are so many people using digital cameras now that it's a lot harder to compete. Let's say if there's 8,000 people taking a picture of a marigold,
Yeah.
my extra marigold picture doesn't add something to the conversation. But if I can make cool cyanotypes out of marigolds, it's a different way of looking at
Sure,
it.
you
And it's
take it to
still
the next step.
photography. Yep.
For sure. Now, when you shoot film, this is the camera that you use?
Yeah.
Would you like to hold that up?
Well, let's finish with, because the
Oh.
Holga pictures will come through next. So
Okay.
let's go to the next one. All right, so this is just another cyanotype with gears, showing that you can layer the gears and make different levels out of them.
Right.
Let's do the next picture.
How long does the process like that take?
About 10 minutes. Depends how sunny it is.
Right.
So like this is a wooden palette, like that painters paint on.
Yep.
And I painted the palette with the cyanotype
Wow.
liquid and then put a bunch of bicycle gears on it.
Wow.
Alternatives in Whitensville does a palette show every year where everyone gets a palette and has to do something different and creative with it. So this
Wow.
was my entry for doing that.
Cool. Very
So just to
nice.
show, and I've got a T-shirt here, because it's like a paint, so it will work on any substance that will take
Oh my
paint.
God.
So that's a T-shirt. It works on any T-shirt material, and this is my boyfriend's band. So you can put on letters, you can put on bicycle gears, you can put on ferns. So you can make T-shirts for your local club or bands or anything else you want.
Is this an early tie-dye?
Well, it'd be like a tie-dye, but you can control exactly what it looks like, because you're choosing exactly where you put
Right.
the gears or ferns.
Right.
So just to show that people can do it in all sorts of different ways, and if they like steampunk gears, they can use gears. If they like nature, they can use twigs and
Sure.
ferns and flowers. All right, so let's switch to the next one. Oh, so that's one of the T-shirts
There's
that
your
I did.
T-shirt.
And the way that I get the logo is I print that out on transparent paper. So your printer can print onto what looks like a piece of clear plastic.
Right.
And where the printing is dark. And then when you put it down on the T-shirt or whatever, that blocks the light. And
Sure.
so now you've got a precise image.
Right. Right.
And actually I
It
have...
looks like an arduous process.
No, it's super easy. And then these are actual film negatives. So now I'm combining film negatives and some flowers with the cyanotype process.
Yeah.
So you can mix all sorts of different things
Yeah.
together.
What's the other one?
The other one's another film process. These just happen to be, these got washed out in the process.
Yeah.
But these are my boyfriend's marching band marching on Veterans Day.
Is this film?
Yes, those were actual pieces of film. That's how big
Yes.
that film is.
Is
So
that-
those are actual cubes of film and the actual size.
Is that 120 film though?
Yes.
What do you use for 120? Is this the
Yep,
120
yep.
camera?
So we'll show you. So on to the next one. All right, so now we're at the Holga. So in terms of history, the cyanotype came first. That was in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And then they started developing ways to get light reactive film
Silver.
into silver and into little canisters, so it was easier instead of having to paint things all the time.
Right.
So this is the 35 millimeter size that most people know about. But this came before, which is the larger film.
120.
And where that's in a canister, this has no canister. It's just a roll of film. So this
Right.
was a earlier iteration that wasn't as safe, because if that film started to unroll, then you were just doomed.
Right, but
'Cause
that's
like in a-
120 film though,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Is that for 2 1/4 format? Or
Well,
one?
It's called medium format. And if we pop this open, This is a medium format camera called the Holga.
Okay.
So you can see the inside. It looks sort of like a 35 millimeter camera, but the spindle is much larger.
Right.
So you end up putting the film into this side and pulling it across, and there's no cartridge or anything to keep it safe. It's just now open, and you have to be pretty careful about light hitting it. So that's part of what I like about it, is that it's a challenge, and you never know how pictures are going to come out. You have to like tape the edges with tape to keep light from going in, and you only get 12 pictures per roll, so you have to be really attentive to what you're taking pictures of.
Do you bracket when you use that camera?
With there only being 12 pictures, I just go for a shot and hope for the best, and sometimes it's fuzzy because, I mean, your focus is fairly rudimentary here. You've got a little sunny versus not sunny switch, and that's really all the controls that you have in here.
Are you looking through the lens, though?
You're looking through a hole which comes right out. So no. So you're looking up here.
It's a viewfinder.
In the top left. But the camera's taking the picture down here. So yes, so now you're also adjusting for
the parallax,
where your eye's looking and where the picture's taking.
Yeah.
So what it ends up doing, like on this picture here, there's a lot of vignetting that happens, which is the dark around the edges.
Right.
So with this being a cheap plastic lens, which is sort of curved, and a body which leaks light like crazy, you get all sorts of light flares, but then you end up getting some cool moody shots. So this is in Puerto Rico over a chapel, and there's a pigeon flying up into the sky.
Right.
And it ended up coming pretty cool, but the other 11 shots on this roll were all not great. So out of a roll, you're hoping for great shots each time, and occasionally it works, and most of the time it doesn't work.
Did you ever shoot infrared?
No, that's next on my list, is to try that.
That's an arduous process. The camera has to be loaded in total darkness. So you get a changing bag, and you got to load the camera, and then after loading the camera, you unload the camera onto a spool. My hands got so sweaty in the process that only one photo came out. Yeah, the Hopedale Rustic Bridge in Hopedale Park. Yeah, that's my only claim to black and white fame.
Well, and even with these, you want to be in pretty much darkness because, again, you don't have a canister keeping the film safe. So as soon as you open this bag, all sorts of bad things can happen until you get it safely into your camera body. And these camera bodies are made out of plastic, so there's all sorts of places that the light can seep in there and cause trouble for you.
How much does something like that cost?
About $30 on Amazon.
A film camera for $30?
Yep. Well, that's why it's, and not only a film camera, but a medium format film camera. So it's really a lot of fun, but then you have to find somewhere to develop the film.
Right.
And I only know of one place in New Hampshire that I use. So it's not even like I can go.
So you don't have a darkroom then?
No.
Okay.
Nope, I send the stuff up to New Hampshire, and they'll develop it and send me back the images.
Cool. What else we got?
So this is an, I'm drawing a blank, St. Martin. So that's a shadowed area, and again, it does a lot of vignetting. It does a fairly high contrast. And out of the other shots that I took on this day, this is probably the only one that came out. So you sometimes get something really cool, and then the rest of the time, so it gives you a sense of having to just be happy with what you have and to be mindful about things.
And you took that shot with that camera?
Yes, so all of these were with this camera. So that was with black and white film. If we go to the next one, I think we've got a color one. So this is a color picture taken St. Patrick's Day Parade. That's my boyfriend's marching band.
Oh, cool.
And again, you can see how it tends to pop the colors and wash out the whites and get some vignetting around the edge. So this is a hallmark of the camera. And what's funny is now young adults, I was going to say kids, on Instagram have filters that they can apply to their pictures, and this is one of the most popular ones, to make it look like an old style camera.
Oh, okay.
So they're playing with their smartphones trying to make pictures that I can actually take with the film camera the old-fashioned way. If we look at the next one, that's also the St. Patrick's Day Parade. They had a bunch of horse riders in the parade, and she was heading back home again to wherever she was going. And you can see in the bottom corners that the vignetting happens, and the whites get super white, and the colors get super saturated.
What kind of film did you use for that?
I'd have to look that up. I buy a lot of films on eBay,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are old expired films. So that also
Really?
adds fun character to the pictures.
Wow.
So you never know if the film's actually going to work, or if it's going to make like all the blues bluer or
you
something.
really are an artist.
So, well, but part of it is I don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
the camera's doing its thing and I'm doing my thing, and it
Right.
sort of comes together in fun.
So when you shoot color, you're shooting expired film.
Yes. Yes, pretty much all my film I'm shooting is expired film. Sometimes I'll shoot fresh black and white because that's more readily available.
Right, right. Do you buy film in bulk?
It depends on the eBay seller.
Yeah.
Often I'll be interested in a particular kind of thing, and
Right.
I'll go buy a couple of things, but sometimes I just have to buy them one at a time,
Right.
depending what's available.
Right, cool.
Right.
Where are you exhibited? Are you exhibited anywhere?
Here at Milford TV, we have running shows that cycle through here.
Right.
So I have a lot of my cyanotypes in here, and occasionally I'll put a Holga picture in.
Oh, what?
The Holga is the name of the camera.
Oh, okay.
Holga. We have the Blackstone Valley Art Association has a gallery in Uxbridge,
Yeah.
where we've got rotating shows, and then we also have art up at the Grafton Inn in Grafton.
The Grafton Inn.
Mm-hmm.
The restaurant?
Yes, yes, the entry hallways all down the left and right side
Oh,
are
my.
our pictures.
Okay, cool.
So those are 3 different places to always find us.
So you're widely exhibited. Do you have stuff in each of those locations?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful. What do we got next?
All right, so this is slide film. So slide
Slide film.
film does different kinds of processing. Normally, it uses different chemicals. But
E41.
if you take a picture with slide film and then process it with normal film chemicals,
Yeah.
then it pops the colors like this and tends things towards a blue palette.
Wow.
So this is called cross-processing, where you use a film and then use the chemicals meant for the opposite film.
You have to tell that to the lab,
Yes.
though, right?
Yes, so I buy slide film and
Yeah.
run it through the camera, and then I send it to the lab and say, don't process this as slide film, process it as regular film.
Wow.
And then I can get prints out of it instead of slides.
Right.
So
Incredible.
it's a neat way to play with the available materials.
Excellent.
So if we look at the next one. So that's also done with slide film that was cross-processed. So again, it makes the blues really pop, the darks tend to get darker, and it just brings a different kind of look.
Do you use Ektachrome or Kodachrome?
I've played with all the different kinds, and
Yeah.
I'd have to go through, I keep spreadsheets of what I've used for what picture to keep track, because otherwise I would forget.
Right.
So I'd have to look it up to see which slide film I used for this.
For the occasion.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually have 3 Holga cameras, and each one I'll put a note on the front, so I have scribbled notes on here that this has right now color, and it used to have black and white because I scribbled out the black and white thing. So that way I know when I'm grabbing a camera what type of film is in there
Right.
to be able to use the right one.
And how often do you indulge in your art? Is it an everyday experience for you?
Well, in these cases we were on a cruise, so I brought all 3 cameras loaded with different kinds of film and used it. In my daily life, it would be if there was a project I wanted to do, if
Yeah.
I wanted to go around Sutton and take pictures of the old schools and the old mills and
Right.
something, then I'd go out with the camera for the day. But once I start using the camera, I want to get through the roll pretty quickly,
Yeah.
because if I leave the film sitting in here, it'll all turn white.
It'll turn
Well,
white.
black. It'll turn black.
Yeah,
It'll expose.
It'll decay.
Right.
Incredible.
So
Next one.
is there a next picture, or was
What-
that the
what,
end of it?
casino
Oh,
was
okay. That was in St. Martin, so that was the St. Martin Casino.
Okay.
So now this is showing that because the height of the normal medium format film is tall, I can get this open. All right, so normal medium format film is a tall height,
Right.
and 35 millimeter film is a shorter height.
Right.
So what you do is you stuff foam in on either side of it so that you get the 35 millimeter film in there. And then when you pull it across the opening,
Yeah.
you've got the full height of the opening getting exposed.
Incredible.
So normally with 35 millimeter film, you're exposing in between the sprockets,
Yeah.
and then the turners
You're
are
getting your
engaged with the
sprockets and
sprockets. But with this, because the square is so big, you're actually getting the sprockets. So what you can do is what this picture shows, you can get your image to go full across the entire
Yeah.
width of it, which creates another kind of neat effect.
Incredible.
And I didn't bring an example of this because I forgot, but the other thing you can do is you can load it so that you're shooting through the backside of the 35 millimeter film. And when you shoot through its backside,
Yeah.
it makes everything red. So everything turns red and orange, the entire picture. So that makes a really neat effect. If you're doing like clouds at a sunset or something, now they're all super red and orange. And that's called red scale pictures. But what you have to do for that is this won't normally wind and unwind in a backwards format. So you have to go into a completely dark room, pull the entire thing out, turn it upside down, stuff the entire thing back in again. And then when you're untaking it, you also have to do it in a completely dark room because now everything's out of the canister and it's being exposed to the light. So
How often do you put yourself through that process?
you can buy pre-rotated red scale film on eBay. So someone else has already done the pull it out, turn it upside down, and stuff it back in again. So I'll buy the pre-made red scale film, which in essence just like this, but it's the other way.
Inside out.
Yeah, so it looks inside out like that.
Right.
And then that way all you have to do is put it in the camera and get it started.
Right. I didn't notice the spool on this camera here. It was spooled on one side.
Right, so when this has a spool in it,
Yeah.
so if I open that up, then that would stick in there with its spool, and
Right.
I'd put this on this side
Okay.
and pull it across to that.
it.
And there's no automatic turner or automatic counter or anything like that.
How do you advance the film?
Here, is there one more, or was that the last picture in there? All right, so no, that's the last picture. Let's see if I can get this to show. Let's see if I can get over there without causing trouble to my microphone. All right, so in terms of advancing the film, you have to turn the turner
Yeah.
until usually you can count, or the back of the film capsule has numbers on it. So you have to watch for the number in the back.
All right.
But when you take a picture, you don't have to turn it. So what you can do is take a picture of one thing, in this case a car tire, and not advance it at all. And then go take a picture of something else, in this case a sign, and they'll overlay right on the film.
Oh my God.
So the things people play with in Photoshop now, you can do in the camera itself.
I never heard.
But you have to think in your head about where the first picture is going to show up in the frame, and then where the second picture and how they overlap with each other.
Amazing.
So I have a lot of fun doing layers, and that's just 2 layers, but you can do 5 layers or 8 layers, and you just have to be careful with where you're placing each piece as you go.
Right.
And keeping track of
It's
that.
fascinating. You've doubled my photographic IQ. Thank you. We got 4 minutes left.
All right.
I just want to say to the artists out there, it's your show. It's your show. If you're so interested in being a guest on the Artist Corner, call the TV station here, and they'll get to me, and we'll try to work something out. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you.
What do you tell a young photographer or a young artist as to whether, just say they're perplexed, they're going through an identity crisis, what to do? What do you tell them?
Well, do things that seem fun to you and keep trying different things. Part of what we do at the Uxbridge Art Gallery on Saturdays is we just have random creative activities. So we'll try watercolors one day and acrylics another day and string art another day. And you never know which random one will be something.
Regarding of your favorite medium, this is what you'll be doing. Okay.
Yeah, so just try different things, and you never know which one will catch your attention and that you become really good at.
You're right, right. How old is the youngest person that shows up at meetings?
14.
Yeah?
Yep, so we've got some teenagers in there. We've got people of all different age ranges. And sometimes at our open paints, there'll be younger kids that come along to play with things.
Now, how about the oldest member?
I think 96. So we've got people in all ranges of ages.
And how does somebody contact the Blackstone Valley Art Association if they're interested?
Well, we've got the website, which is B as in Blackstone, V as in Valley, AA.org. So
that's it?
yep,
bvaa.org.
Yep.
Wonderful.
And we're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the other places as well.
Okay, great. Lisa, thank you.
Sure, thank you so much.
Be well.
Yeah, you too.
We'll see you next month, folks. I don't know who's going to be here. It'll be a surprise to all of us. Be well. If you're so blessed, call your mom. And if it's within your purview, hire a vet. Take care, everybody. Keep a song in your heart.